Chris Ford scored. Three-pointer again. Chris Ford has really played well. Out to Ford. Ford having a remarkable first half. Now Chris Ford.
Chris Ford scored the first ever three-pointer in NBA history. Three-time national champion, Villanova legend, Holy Spirit High School scoring record holder, is how many might know him. However, there was so much more to Chris, or as I would call him, Poppy. He had earned every right to be arrogant, but he always remembered where he came from, and he always had such humility that inspired his children, his grandchildren, and everyone around him. He touched so many people in his life, and here are some words from a few of the people that he had a bond with like no other. Many know him as a family man. Can you describe to us the incredible relationship he had with his children and grandchildren?
He loved his children and his grandchildren down to his toes, and he would do anything for any one of them, and did often. And, when I was a young mom, when I first had my first child, we were in Detroit. He was a player for the Detroit Pistons, and I was far from home, and he was on the road a lot. And that's a hard thing for a young mom. The good news, though, was that when he came home, he was home with me, and he couldn't wait to be home. Your mom was born there, too. And then he was traded to Boston, which was like a lifelong dream for me because I love New England, and my father and his family were from New England. So we moved to Boston. I had your Uncle Mike and your Uncle Tony, not in that order, by the way. And we just had a really great family life. And at the time in the NBA, when he was playing for the Celtics, the players were a little older. They graduated from college. They didn't make the kind of money that they make now. And we all had really pretty large families. And so our life with the Celtics, and your mom will tell you this, was really fun, family-filled, wholesome. We did so many activities with the kids, including going apple picking with Kevin McHale, who's 7 feet tall. Very convenient to have him on an apple picking trip. So we had a lot of fun. We really did.
You were able to speak so highly on how he was so dedicated to everything that he did. Why and how do you think he was able to keep that mentality even with all this professional pressure surrounding him?
Actually, he passed away a little more than a year ago. And when he did pass away, and I said to so many people, he had a great life and he loved his life. He had the American dream life. And that's what I want to start with, because when he was a child, he didn't have a father. He didn't have any money. He didn't have really anything. And he lived in a neighborhood that was very close, and the people really took care of him, and they really helped raise him. And he was dedicated to those people until the day he died. And I think maybe it started there. He was just a loyal person. And, the people that were close to him were the most important people in the world. Not that he wasn't friendly to everyone else. He loved people and he loved talking to everybody, including any waitress that ever waited on him. But, as he grew up and went into higher and higher heights, he just never lost that loyalty. The other thing about him was, because he was from such humble beginnings, he stayed humble his whole life. I mean, if you ever met him or spoke to him, he would never talk about all of his accomplishments or his basketball career. He would want to know everything about you, and you would be the most important person in the room while he was talking to you.
Basketball has always been a big part of your life, CJ.
Yeah, it has.
How has your grandfather inspired you and mentored you throughout your career?
So, throughout my whole life, I've been playing basketball since I can even remember anything. And When I was little, he taught me how to shoot. First basketball hoop, he was out there with me for like 30 minutes, an hour, just helped me fix my form that didn't get fixed for another like 4 years. Then I remember going with you to Atlantic City in the summers to train, and wow, we were bad. Let me tell you, we couldn't use our opposite hands. He had me on the right side the whole time, had you on the left side the whole time. Taught us how to cut. He was like Woody, always yelling at us to keep our butts down. Never worked. Still doesn't work. And then whenever I have a bad game, he always knew what to say to me to get it to be better. He would always say, like, next one's going in, babe. Next one's going in. That was his favorite word, babe. That was his favorite word. Or honey bunch. He called me honey bunch all the time.
I would consider you one of Chris Ford's best friends. Can you describe how your relationship has grown over the years?
Well, I would say, number one, that's very nice of you to say, and I will second that. But number two, I would say in the beginning, he was my boss when he hired me, and I didn't know what to expect really. Coming out of Boston, Division III guy, and Coach Ford gives me a chance to coach in the NBA. But then after a while, no matter where we were on the road, he ended up treating me more, like his son or a brother. And he would remind me, we're in Seattle and it rains here. JT, you should bring an umbrella. Or, hey, we're in Houston. It's pretty hot here. You can bring some shorts. You don't need winter clothes down here. So, and that's just how he was. But after a while, more and more, he just treated me like family. And after a while, even when we would get together in the summer times and we'd come down to the Jersey Shore, that his family would sometimes confuse us. So they'd say, wow, is that Poppy? Oh, no, that was JT. And one time with the Knicks, they were going along. We had a big banquet, and they had showed a double. Who's your double? Or who looks like who? And Coach's double was me, which was kind of cool, really. And if you look at that picture again that you're going to bring up on the screen, lo and behold, if you look closely, first game, we had exact same sizes. We had almost the same suit on, double-breasted suit, same shoes. Even the tie looks very similar if you look close. It's amazing. And then we got to live together. When we took the job with the Clippers, Kathy and the kids were back in Linfield, and my wife was teaching school in Barica. So he said, why don't we live together so we can drive together in the Diamond Lane, the multi-passenger lane. So then I get to talk to a guy who was like a legend to me, the Boston Celtics, and talk about stories and talk about Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, and what it was like with Red Auerbach and Havlicek and all those guys. And by the way, one of the quotes from Larry Bird years ago, he said the best coach he ever had was Chris Ford. So, that's kind of cool. And I told you about how we'd come out to the Jersey Shore once a year. He bought me a fishing rod. I don't know how to fish, but I had to have a fishing rod. So we'd go fishing for a few days in the summer. And then, talk about being more like family. I mean, he could not have included me any more than he did. The bottom line for me is the fact that Coach was a humble, loyal, and a gentleman. Loyal person and a gentleman. He was a complete family man, and to prove it, he could have got back in the NBA, and he decided no matter, all he wanted to do was be with Kathy and the kids and his grandchildren, and he said it many, many times, and of course with JT.
Poppy was loved by so many, and Mammy, CJ, and JT are just a few examples of the many lives that he impacted. Poppy will continue to live on as an inspiration to his family and friends to encourage us all to live with the same passion and selflessness that he did.
To end, I want to say hi, Caitlin. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Kylie. Hi, Allie. Hi, Casey. Hi, Mr. Smith. It's Mammy.